Ms. Haines, as we witnessed, and many of us, frankly, firsthand, on January 6th, a most serious threat to our democracy came from within. We've seen the current president, as he has done his utmost to stoke some of those grievances, those divisions that really fueled this threat, but his departure from office tomorrow is certainly not going to eliminate it. On December 8th, I wrote a letter along with a number of other senators to FBI Director Wray and also the acting director of DHS's Intelligence and Analysis Office, simply asking for a public written assessment of the threat that QAnon poses to our country. And we have not received a response to that letter. And I just wanted to ask you that if confirmed, if you would commit to simply working with the FBI and DHS's Intelligence and Analysis Office to provide us with a written assessment as requested.
Yes, Senator. Thank you very much. I've seen the letter, and I absolutely, if confirmed, would work with the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security to get you an answer to that question. And I know, in particular, you ask about foreign influence operations and how those are affecting QAnon and how they're exacerbating and the message that's being provided and the misinformation. So I will.
Would you expound a little bit on the question that Senator Warner asked you about the particular role of the IC with respect to domestic radicalized groups in the United States? For example, we have a very specific process internationally through the State Department to designate foreign terrorist organizations. We don't have any sort of process for domestic terrorist organizations. What are your thoughts on the proper role of the intelligence community in supporting law enforcement, the FBI in particular, Department of Homeland Security, with respect to threats to the homeland?
Thank you, Senator. So obviously the intelligence community is focused on foreign intelligence and on foreign threats in effect. But there is, I think, a critical role that it can play and does play in supporting the work that's done by others, led by others in the government. So the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security obviously are critical and in the lead on much of this. But there are ways in which we can support, both by identifying where there are connections to international organizations, for example, and threats, to domestic threats, and also in just providing information about lessons learned for how organizations work internationally and to the FBI and to the Department of Homeland Security. And of course, through the National Counterterrorism Center, established in law, you gave it, in effect, a mandate that allows it to pull from domestic intelligence information holdings as well as foreign intelligence information holdings in order to be able to provide trends and reviews of issues that cross the seam, in effect, and make sure that those who are in the lead, such as the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, have that information as they pursue these issues.
I suspect I'm probably going to run out of time before I have a chance to get to the bottom of all these things, but you and I have spoken quite a bit about the committee's detention and interrogation report and sort of the aftermath of all that. You wrote in your pre-hearing responses to questions about interrogation methods that even if a technique involving cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment were determined to be effective, I would not endorse its use. Those are your words. I wanted to go a step further and just ask you to be very specific on whether you agree that the specific techniques that were used in that program, waterboarding, a number of other so-called enhanced interrogation techniques, were not effective. Do you understand the distinction I'm asking?
I think so, sir. So I believe that waterboarding is, in fact, torture, constitutes torture under the law. And I do believe that all of those techniques, including techniques that involve cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment, are unlawful from both domestic and international perspective, and should not be engaged in, regardless, as I said, of whether or not they're effective.
One of-
I don't, sorry.
One of the outcomes of our report was we found that these were not, in addition to being unlawful under current law, they weren't effective because people were so desperate to make things stop that they would tell us almost anything. Do you agree that those techniques were not effective in their
Yeah, Senator, I think that your report does an excellent job, essentially, of identifying how there are actually better alternative methods to get true, accurate information, and that is a reality. My point was only to say that even if they were effective, from my perspective, I would not allow them to be engaged in.
Thank you.
And Senator Blunt needs to run for the inauguration,